The reality for most people is you can't stand being with yourself. I'm quoting from Eckhart Tolle. I'm going to link his video in the description below. He is the most soothing voice to my soul. His videos are available for free on YouTube. I cannot play the clips because I can't monetize my videos, and that's fine. But his books are not as good as listening to him speak. So this particular talk is just 16 minutes. It's about being okay with boredom and how, we're so addicted to our thinking that the mind is constantly jumping to, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and how we are dissatisfied just being by ourselves. Now, the way to get through it is to just sit somewhere in a room and allow yourself to feel that boredom. You'll be tempted to, get on the internet, get something to eat, turn on a TV show, get up and do some cleaning, like do, because the mind wants to keep going, unless you're sleeping, of course. And so the thing to do is to just be there and allow yourself to feel bored. And then through that boredom, then you access the inner stillness. And from that stillness, you can really actually enjoy what's going on around you, because there is no joy when, we're constantly doing something, shopping, buying, looking, doing, thinking. And the mind plays this little trick on us that if we just get this thing or just do this thing, we'll be happy. It's just the nature of the mind. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? And to develop this inner stillness requires, first of all, just watching these videos, wanting to have it, and then going through the discomfort of just sitting alone. And most people just cannot sit alone. They do not like being alone with themselves. And then that has to do with relationships too, because, people think, well, if I just get a relationship, well, if I'm not comfortable with myself, then I'm just using you to make me comfortable with myself. And so is that other person. And that's kind of a turnoff, You cannot stand yourself. That is the reality for most people. See, I'm going to play a little audio from what he says, and I'll be curious to see if it will not monetize the video. So let's just keep going now. Okay, let's see what he says.
You can't stand yourself. And that's the reality for most people. That's why you continuously run into this and into that and into that. And if a person cannot stand him or herself, of course, what kind of relationships is that person going to have? If you can't stand yourself, then you're using others to make you feel a little better, but that doesn't work. And basically the inability to be with yourself gets reflected and projected onto others also. And there comes the ability of being with other humans, because at first you try to use them and then you can't stand them either.
And so he says you spent the rest of your life just running from yourself because you have the inability to sit alone in a room. And from there, all your problems start. So I'm going to challenge you guys to try this, and people will not want to try this. This is a hard thing. Because as he says, it means that then we're not connected to the deeper self that's beyond the mind-made reality. right? So we have this mind-made sense of self. This is who I am, our beliefs, our conceptions, our thoughts, what we project, and that there's a deeper part of us. You can call it the spiritual part or the God essence, the inner stillness or being. And if we never access that, and we can never be alone with ourselves, that's very sad actually to think about. So, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, I don't want to run from myself. There are many levels to kind of access this. One is just to realize that the mind is running the show and that there is a deeper self. But then also being willing to, kind of related to that, is being willing to not think. Because the question is, who am I if I'm not thinking? This is very scary because I've been listening to Eckhart Tolle for a few years, off and on. And, when he talks about not thinking and being, the first thing that comes up for me is, if I'm not thinking, who am I? That's how identified I am with my mind and my thoughts, and believing that my thoughts are real. And you can hear people like getting in arguments and debates because they're so identified with their thoughts. They believe their thoughts are real, like that they're firm structures, but they're just these things that we create. There's a deeper underlying reality, and we get so fixated on, me too. Like, I think this is all real, this shirt, this home. But 100 years from now, this is all going to be gone. I'm going to be gone. It's all going to be dust. And to not so attach so firmly to structures. And thoughts are structures. To be willing to kind of like transcend that and be aware of an inner stillness. And the way to do it is to just sit alone in a room and notice the discomfort that comes up and be with it. And then you can transcend it and find this inner stillness. You can also find it in nature, but then again, you are needing nature to find it. But that's a good beginning point. I think that one of the reasons that I didn't like going to sleep alone is because I have to be willing to stop thinking. And even now, it's hard. Sometimes I will listen to a podcast as I go to sleep. Like being willing to let go and drop into stillness, drop into sleep is, like I have to be willing to stop thinking. And if I'm not thinking, am I going to, asking you now, if I'm not thinking, am I going to disappear? This is how identified I am with my thoughts. Am I going to turn into like some kind of like permanent vegetable if I don't keep thinking? So, so I did try that last night in the middle of the night as I was listening to this, and I didn't disappear. I was willing to stop thinking. I'm like, okay, I'm just willing to stop thinking. What's going to happen? And I didn't disappear, but it was just an instant. I'm not saying I reached any deep inner stillness, but I was willing to stop thinking. That was a big step already. When people get so identified with our thoughts, we start to think that our thoughts are reality. The more I think that we're attached to thoughts without having the stillness, the more we can get unhappy because we start thinking, if I just get this thing, if I just get that thing, then I'll be happy. He talks in another video about the difference between joy and pleasure. So and manifesting, like people think, well, if I can manifest this and this, then I'll be happy. And they may get the thing that they want and they get some pleasure out of it. But pleasure has a polarity. Pleasure has the polarity of pain. So whatever gives you pleasure will bring you pain. If not today, then tomorrow. Whether it's your relationship or your job or your finances, everything that gives you pleasure will also give you pain. Whereas joy is an inner stillness being. It doesn't have a polarity. It comes from being connected to the stillness. So instead of thinking about if I get this perfect job, if I get this perfect guy, in my case, if I just get fucked really well, is to be realize that all those things have a polarity, and they do. Relationships to me have the greatest polarity of all, because I'm looking to someone to add love and joy and peace to my life. But to the extent that I want them to add that to my life, they can also take that away. That's the problem with relationships. At first they feel so good, and then they feel so bad. They start feeling trapping, like a loss of aliveness, like, the person can disappoint you. Whereas being connected to stillness, then from that deeper place, we can more powerfully navigate everything that life brings to us. That's kind of the thing that I'm getting out of these videos. So then he says, come home to yourself so that you can enjoy your own company. Come home to yourself so that you can enjoy your own company. And he says, and then you can enjoy other people's company rather than using them. So instead of using people to make us feel good, we can just enjoy them. That to me really has a lot to do with trying to own people, control people. It has nothing to do with not being selective, but it's more like, I just want to enjoy your company. I don't have to use you to make me feel good. I don't have to control you to feel good. I don't have to change you or judge you to feel good. I can just enjoy your company. I think that's like the ideal state to be in with our friends and with people in our lives. So if we can enjoy ourselves, we don't have to use other people as substitutes. And if we don't enjoy ourselves, we can't enjoy anything ever. So that's the whole basis for enjoying life, is to first enjoy ourselves by not running from our boredom, by not running from ourselves. I have to laugh at what he says. He goes, and then if you're not satisfied with yourself, you take your dissatisfied self wherever you go. It's so true. Yeah. So hopefully you will listen to his videos. I'm going to make a few more about him. I just think that listening to him is just such a pointer to the inner stillness and the deeper layer that's underneath all the chatter. And there really is no permanent joy in anything in the external world. I mean, we can enjoy things, but we can only enjoy them, I think, to the extent that we're already peaceful inside. And one more thing, sitting alone in a room doesn't mean that you are just like going crazy inside and you're sitting still and forcing yourself. It's about actually being there till you feel like I'm good right here, alone in this room, feeling peaceful. I don't need anything else. Just do it for like a half a minute to start, or just work up to a couple minutes. I just think taking these little respites during the day to be like, I'm going to be okay with not thinking. I'm just going to be okay with not looking at anything, not listening to anything. Just these little bits of awareness to want to find that inner stillness is already really powerful. You don't have to sit there for 20 or 30 minutes. It's just thinking about it, having the intention, I think is already like very peaceful. But I'd love to hear what you think about Eckhart Tolle, or if you found anyone, and again, this is free, it's not charging anything, if you found anything that's free with no dogma that points people towards like that deeper stillness within. And thank you for watching my video.